Hello siblings, welcome to Scout the Pages. Today we are going to be reading our first Brandon Sanderson Cosmere book in this large video series, Elantris. Now, this video is part 1 of 3 because I will be listening to the dramatization audiobooks of Elantris, which has 3 parts, each of which is broken into 6 chapters. No spoilers. The only things I will talk about are the general feelings I have about the book and what is in the synopsis. The first book I actually read in this video series was book 28, Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. I have a spoiler and spoiler-free version of this vlog out for you, so check that out if you are interested. I started with that book because it seemed to be the most up my alley, the most in my genre, the most interesting to me personally as an individual, and it was a single standalone book that was not very long. So if you want my full thoughts on that book, check it out because I think it'll be very different from this book. Let's start part 1 of Elantris.
One day I feel alright. The next I'm looking for the light, for the light, for the light.
So without giving any spoilers, since this is only part 1, I can talk about a little bit of what's going on, but we do get into the end of part 1 and have some things that I think are like mildly spoilery, especially in character development. We have Rodin, who is the Prince of Arelon, who has died recently and become an Elantrian citizen, which means he's like a Seod, which he's like dead, but like a zombie. That's fascinating. I am absolutely invested in his POV. So invested in it. I love this idea. I love what the author is working with here. He's taken a very unique concept and done unique things with it that I couldn't have even predict him doing with that unique concept, if that makes sense. I'm just thoroughly impressed. I'm just thoroughly impressed and really loving Rodin as a character. I feel like we don't really get to know him very much in the first part. I think we get to see him in action, but we don't get to know him. We get to know things about him based on what other characters say about him who knew him in life. But I like seeing who he is in death, you know? Like, I don't really need who he was. I think it's interesting to just see who he is in this moment, in this situation. Gives me a lot of context. And then the second character is Serene. Serene is the princess of Teod, who was engaged to Rodin before he died. She was in transit to Arelon when he became an Elantrian. And when that happens in their culture, she still has to marry him even though he's dead. So she's married and a widow in the same moment. The second he woke up and he was an Elantrian, he was dead, and she doesn't have a husband anymore, and she is not allowed to ever marry ever again, and she is now the daughter of Rodin's father. She is now the daughter of 2 kings, and she's loyal to both, and that is very complicated, especially since now that she's in Arelon, things are very different than Teod. In Teod, women have rights. In Arelon, women are seen as, yeah, you get the point. There's a little bit of the misogyny spice going on, but it's done in a way that's super well. I wouldn't say this has misogyny spice in it at all. I would say this book is exploring the topic of a misogynist society with societies that are not as misogynist. I love the commentary. We love standing up for women. We love it. There's some sci-fi elements in here with like some robot type things that are like guardians of some people, which is interesting. They're like floating little orbs like in a video game essentially. It reminds me of Destiny. Serene is now the daughter of this king who's not a nice guy. His society is crumbling. His people don't trust in him. He's greedy, and the way that the world works is not great for common people. It is not even really great for the nobles either. And so Serene plays dumb in his court. She acts like a dumb woman as he would expect, but really she's undermining him in secret and working with someone in his, I guess, political circle to overthrow him at some point. Not really overthrow, but cause the fall of society so that they can start over again because the current one is not working. Serene is a brilliant character. I adore her. She's so well written. She's funny. She's unique. She's got so much willpower. She's she's such a boss, if I'm being honest. She's killing it, and I love that she's so competent. And like, even the men in this very conservative society that doesn't believe women are like capable, even the men that encounter her from that society are like, she's not just a dumb woman. I need to watch that one. Like, they don't question her for even a second. And when they do at some point like ignore her, any suggestions she has, they are quickly humbled because she is a brilliant woman. I love, 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 thank you Brandon Sanderson, that yes, she's not like other girls in this society, but she is. And I love that. I love that the society doesn't value women, and yet the women are all intelligent. They're just playing dumb. And Sarene never once suggests that she's better than other women, never once suggests that because they knit that she's better than them because she knows how to fence, or that she knows how to do manly things in their society. Never once suggests that. She's a girl's girl. She's like, I'm gonna help these women out. They are so capable and they deserve to do whatever they want. If they want to knit, great, but all of them are interested in fencing, and maybe they should be allowed to do anything they want, and they're capable, and I need to get them on my side in addition to the men. It is absolutely fascinating. Fascinating. And then it gets even more complex as the third POV comes in, and that is Raithen, I believe is how you say his name. He's a priest from Jordel. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Essentially, he's the priest for a religion that's like super culty and like power hungry and is like dominating other cultures on this world. And so his job from his high priest or whatever is to decide on whether or not to convert the people of Aerolon to eventually take control, or to just kill them all off. Send an army and just like kill them all off so that they can take over Aerolon and start over, because they think that the heathens in Aerolon are not living in a proper society. And it's interesting because the synopsis of this book alludes to Sarene and Raithen having to team up because they do technically share the same objective. They want to overthrow Aerolon. Just one has questionable motives and is questionable morally. Raithen is a very frustrating character to follow. He does not love humanity. He is not a humanitarian. He's a very preachy, he's very manipulative, controlling, power hungry, just all around a really bad person. And he's supposed to eventually, I guess in the next few parts, team up with Sarene for a shared objective, which is insane to me. I don't know what that's gonna look like. We haven't done it in part 1 yet. Raithen's perspective is obviously not one you're supposed to enjoy. You're supposed to get more context for what's happening in this very complex society, world, and political system. I like that. I like getting Raithen's perspective, but I hate him. And then Sarene and Roden, I hope they end up together at some point, because I love both of their personalities so much, and I think they haven't even met, okay? These characters haven't even met. This is how good of a writer Brandon Sanderson is. These characters haven't even met, and you know that they are so unbelievably compatible as romance partners. It's so aggravating that they don't know each other, because it's brilliantly written. They would be perfect life mates. They would have been perfect rulers of Aerolon together, because Roden was against what his father was doing and was trying to fix society before he unfortunately became a Seod or an Elantrian or whatever they call them. And Sarene's trying to uncover if Roden was actually murdered in this book as well. There's so many plot lines in this book, it's insane. Somebody told me that this book was boring and like super slow. It's not like fast-paced battles or anything, but I think there's so much plot happening. It's not slow feeling at all. I feel so intrigued, and there's so many different plot lines that I'm not bored at all. Yeah, it's gonna be a longer book and take longer to read, but it doesn't feel wasteful like some long books do. I'll get off my pedestal now. Part 1 absolutely blew me away. I am so unbelievably in love with this book and this series. It's definitely giving Legends of the First Empire kind of vibes, where this is popular while that is not, I think they're both pretty similar in quality. This just is one book, and The Legends of the First Empire is, I believe, 4, 5, or 6. I can't remember at this point what we're on. I'm behind. I need to catch up on my favorite adult fantasy series. But they're giving similar vibes of like fantasy telling and similar vibes of like quality of storytelling. The craft is very similar, and that couldn't be better. That couldn't be better. I'm comparing this to my favorite adult fantasy of all time. That's great. So if you're a Brandon Sanderson fan, pop off in the comments down below. Let me know. Don't give any spoilers for this book. I still have 2 parts of the dramatization to get through. Do not be that person. You will get your comment removed and you will be blocked. But very intrigued. I am beyond words excited for it, okay? This has been such a joyous experience. The one complaint I will have about the dramatization in particular, I don't know how true it is to this book because I haven't physically read this one, to be clear. I am only listening to the dramatization so far, is the audio mix is supposed to be like all immersive and everything, and I feel like the audio is a little bit like unclear, like it's not crisp. I feel like there's a little bit of like a static, and everything kind of like bleeds together in the audio mix, making it kind of like an oversaturated photo or something, but in audio form. It's just, they bleed together. The words, the sound effects, they're all bleeding together a little bit, so it is a little hard to listen to and keep up with. And additionally, the story goes really quickly, so keeping track of character names is very complicated. This world is completely fantasy. There's just a bunch of words that you don't recognize. So because of that, it has been a little difficult to keep up at times, but I do just slow down the audio narration and kind of go back and re-listen to a section if I'm a little confused. I haven't been able to do that much in part 1 because of the issue I had with the progress bar. I still really enjoyed it. I did maybe get a little confused about what was happening between which characters in some scenes, but I think that'll go away as I traverse the rest of the book. We're only on part 1 of 3, so I can figure out through context clues what is happening later on for these like really minor plots. Thank you so much for watching, siblings. Stay safe and stay kind, and I will see you in the next one.